All right, this is lesson 5.3, which is multiplying and dividing by a negative. So first, let's just take a little warm-up to give us some perspective. Are the following inequalities true or false? So is negative 7 less than 2? Yes, it is. Is 8 greater than or equal to negative 3? 8's a bigger number, so yes. Is negative 10 less than negative 2? Yes, it is, because on a number line, 0, negative 2, negative 10. So negative 2 is a larger number. Now, let's go ahead and divide the negative to the other side. So divide both sides by negative 1. I have 7 is less than negative 2. Divide both sides by negative 1. Negative 8 is greater than or equal to 3. Divide both sides by negative 1. 10 is less than 2. Are the inequalities still true? Is 7 less than 2? No. 7's not less than 2. So how come all of a sudden when we divide it by a negative, this inequality becomes false? I don't like that. Negative 8's greater than or equal to 3. No way is a negative number greater than a positive number. 10 less than 2? No. So all of a sudden when we divide by a negative, our inequality becomes false. And that's not what we want. We want this to always, we want to be able to do this kind of work so we can isolate x. So here's rule number 4. Yesterday you had 3 rules, today I have a 4th rule. When you divide by a negative, you are moving the negative from one side of the inequality to the other. Therefore, you need to not only divide or multiply by the negative, but also switch the sign. Okay? So let's go ahead and look at some examples. Number 1, this says negative 2x is greater than 10. So I'm going to divide both sides by negative 2, just like I would. But since I'm dividing by a negative, I'm going to switch the sign. I'm going to do that first. Then I'll reduce. Okay, negative 5 goes in the middle, then negative 4, negative 3, negative 2, negative 6, negative 7, negative 8. Is negative 5 less than negative 5? No, it's not, so it's an open circle. Greater numbers are over here. Less numbers are over here. This says x is less than negative 5. These are all the numbers that are less than negative 5. This is the only graph I'm going to do. I'm just going to solve these two. Number 2 is negative 3 is greater than or equal to negative x over 4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply both sides by a negative 4 so I can get rid of the negative as well. I'm multiplying by a negative, so I'm going to go ahead and switch the sign first, then reduce. Negative 4 times a negative 3 is a positive 12. I need to flip this around. This is pointing at the 12, so it's still going to point at the 12. X is greater than 12. On this one I had a typo. Now this says negative 4 over 5x is less than 5. What I'm going to choose to do is I'm going to choose to just multiply by 5 on both sides first. Am I multiplying by a positive or a negative? I'm multiplying by a positive, so nothing changes. It's going to stay the same. Negative 4x is less than 40. Again, I multiplied by a positive number, so nothing changes from here to here. Now, I'll divide by negative 4. I'm dividing by a negative, so I'll go ahead and switch the sign. Now reduce. X is greater than negative 10. I'll go ahead and do a couple of these. Everything's the same, just now when we divide by a negative, we're going to also switch the sign. So first, subtract 8 from both sides. Negative 4x is greater than 12. I'm going to divide by negative 4, so I will switch the sign. and x is less than negative 3.